Hi, this is Christina. I am the content manager for Staffless Practice, and I'm going to walk you through how to set up a Google form for your values driven team meeting and how to share that meeting form back with your team. So, the first thing that you want to do to set up your new Google form is to make sure that you are logged into Google. So, to check that, you're going to look in the upper right hand corner of your screen. If you don't see yourself logged in, then you do want to go ahead and make sure that you're logged in. So here I can see my little pictures. I know that I'm logged in, so I'm just going to continue on from here. The next thing that you want to do is create a brand new Google form. There are two routes that I'm going to show you to do that. The first one is through your Google Drive. So I'm going to open a new browser tab and I'm going to go to drive.google.com. So, from my Google Drive, where I can see all of the different files that I have ownership of, I'm going to travel to the upper left hand corner where I see the word new and the little plus sign, and I'm going to click on that button. Now, that gives me a drop down menu with all of the different options of files that I could create or upload. We're wanting a form, so I'm going to travel right here to the purple one that says Google Forms and click that. And you'll see it opens up a brand new tab with an untitled form that you can start editing and adding questions to. The other way to create a form is pretty similar. You're actually going to go to forms.google.com. And as long as you're logged in, it's going to take you to a portion of your own Google account that houses all of the forms that you've created in the past. It also has a lot of great templates here for you to get started if you're wanting to try to make a new type of form. And then there is a blank space. So this will open up just an untitled blank form. So you can click that one and that will open up a brand new Google form for you as well. So you have two options to get here. We only need one, so I'm going to close one of those. And now we'll get started editing this form. So the first thing that I want to do is add a title. I'm going to click right over here and actually copy the title from this one. So just Staffless Practice Values Driven Meeting. So I'm going to right click and copy that. Then I'm going to go back to the form and same thing, click up here, erase that, right click and hit paste. Perfect. There we go. Okay, so now I have the title there, but if I look at the upper left-hand side of my screen, I see that it still says untitled form. So I'm actually just going to click one time right there, and it will auto-populate the title in that location as well. So now your form is titled. You do have a space to put in a description if you want to, so just some information about the form. I'm not going to add anything for this one. And now we're ready to get started on our questions. So this little section, this modal right here, is where you add a new question. Once you click into it, it gives you a drop down and all of the different interactions that you can have with this box. So the first question is just going to be, what is your name? So I'm going to type in the words, your name. And you can see that it automatically changed the question type to short answer text. So Google used technology to read your question and determine what type of question it was that you were asking. With short answer text, you'll be able to add in a few characters, definitely the amount that you would need to answer a question like, what is your name? But you do have a few other options of question types if you're wanting to do something different. So I'm going to travel over to the right hand side of this modal, right next to where I typed in the question, and hit this drop down. And you can see I have a ton of different question options listed here. So everything from short answer, paragraph, multiple choice, checkboxes, drop down, and more. You can also upload files that someone might need to answer this question. For our purposes, we're just going to focus on these top few. And for this question, we do just need short answer text. So I'm actually going to leave that one just as is. Next to that modal, you also have some other interactions, and that's going to be how you add additional questions, how you upload videos that you might want the person that is taking the form to view, pictures that you might want the person that's taking the form to view, and other headings and sections. So for now, we're going to ignore all of this, but in a moment, we'll use it to add a new question. So from this question, there are a few other things that you can do here. You can use this little overlapping pages icon to duplicate this question if for some reason you needed two questions that were the same or you wanted to make minor edits to a question. You can delete the question from this section. You can upload an image to go alongside the question, and you can set it to required. So if I switch this tab on, then that means when I share this form, whoever takes it has to answer this question. So if I go back to our values-driven team meeting template form, and I kind of click down, you can see several of these are set as required questions. Once we get down to the bottom and we see these that have the word optional, they are actually not required. So that's not switched on. So when Dr. Jody shares this with me every couple of weeks when we do our team meeting, then I would have to answer any of the questions that have that switch for required on. And then I could leave the others blank if I opted to. So we're going to move back to our other form, and we are going to add a second question. So traveling over to the right-hand side next to that modal, we see the plus sign up at the top. I'm going to click that plus, and it automatically brings up a whole new question box. So here I'm actually wanting a multiple choice question. It did automatically populate as that type of question. So I'm going to copy and paste question number 2 over to our new form. Perfect. So now I have the question in there. When I'm wanting to add in options, then I just go down the screen, click where it says option 1, and add in the first team member's name. So I'll add in Dr. Jody. I can hit enter. It'll take me down to the next one, and I can just continue to add all of our different members. Shelly and Cassie. Perfect. So everybody's added. It does give you the option to add other. So if you click that one, it will literally just populate it with other, which we don't need for this question. So I am going to make this one required. I'm glad that I have it set as multiple choice, but if I wanted to change it to something else, I would click this button to make those changes. And that's how I would continue to go down the page editing my form. When you click into the question box, you are able to edit the text, underlining, bolding, italicizing, or turn the text into a link in that space. So I have now shown you how to create a new Google form, how to add questions to that form, and our next step is going to be branding that form or adding colors and branded pictures, all of that stuff. So for branding, we're actually going to go to the top of the screen and to the right until we see this little paint palette, and it says customize theme. So I'm going to click that button, and let me move myself over here. Once I click that button, you see that it gives you a few different options for heading, question, and text font. It also gives you some color options. So make sure when you're selecting your fonts that you're choosing fonts that are very clear and easy to read. Google has a lot of different really pretty fonts, but we want to make sure that we have something that's easy for most readers to interact with. One of my favorites is Century Gothic. Glacial Indifference is another great one if you're wanting to make sure you have a nice, clean looking text. The next thing that I'm going to do, let me go down the list, and I'll actually change all of these to Century Gothic. You can kind of see those changes happening as we go. You can make changes to the sizes here. And now I want to make a change to my heading. So I'm going to click this Choose Image button. I'd like to have a cover image or a heading image. Once that modal pops up, then you have lots of different pictures you can choose from that are in there for your use, free from Google. But I have something that I want to upload in this space, so I'm going to move to the next tab where it says Upload. When I click that, it allows me to browse my device by clicking the Browse button. And I can locate, there it is, the image that I want to put in as my heading. Once the image uploads, then you have the ability to crop or cut out whatever sections you do not want to use, and to slide this back and forth and make sure that you're zoning in on just the portion of the heading that you want to include in your heading space. Then I'm going to click Done. And when it uploads, it actually does something really cool automatically. You'll see that over on the right-hand side, it auto suggests colors that will work alongside the image that you've uploaded. So I see this nice, pretty pink right here. I actually want that to be kind of the base for this entire form. So I'm going to click that button and it automatically changes all of the colors to fit that. It does allow you to make changes to how dark you want your background to be as well. But I like the light one. So now we have a nice, clean, well put together form that is branded. If you make mistakes as you're working and you want to undo anything, we're going to move up to the top and you see that you have your undo and redo buttons right next to that customization themed button. And you have one other thing that's useful in this section before we look at how to share it. You have a preview button. So when I click preview, it's going to open up that form and let me see what the form would actually look like if I shared it with someone and they received it to answer it. So from this view, you will not have any editing rights, but you can take a look at it and see what your team would see when you share it out. If you're wanting to get rid of this, once you've opened up that preview, you can just hit the X because it is in its own tab and it'll take you back to your original form. So now we're going to look at our sharing options. To share this form, there are a few different routes that you can take. All of them are going to start right here in this purple send button that's in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. So I'm going to click that purple send button and this modal pops up that allows me to send an email directly from the form. So I go in and where it says to, I would input the email addresses that I'm wanting to send to. I can edit or change the heading or the subject line. I can also add a message to whatever message would be in the email whenever someone receives it. And I can click this button, which allows me to include the form itself in the email. So no one would have to click a link to travel out to somewhere else to answer the form. You'd actually be able to answer the questions and submit the form from within that Google email. The next option is kind of the more traditional way for sharing your Google Forms, and that is using the links. So over here, right next to the little email sign, there is a little chain link. We're going to click on that. It's going to open up that second tab and it gives you your private share link. So this link will take whomever you give it to this form and allow them the opportunity to complete the form. So you could share via email through this first tab, just directly from the form, or you can go over to the chain link and copy this link. So to copy it, you just click this little copy button in the bottom right-hand corner. It's going to highlight it and you'll know that it's been copied. And then you'll just travel to your email or however you're going to be sharing. And you're going to click, right click, and paste. So now that form is in the email, the link is in the email, but it's not a live link. I can see that it's not highlighted in blue, it's not underlined, so whoever wanted to use it would have to highlight it, paste it into their web address bar, and complete the form that way. So I actually want you to highlight this link, and then down at the bottom, you're going to look for that same little chain link button right here in the bottom, kind of left hand next to send, and you're going to click insert link. So when you click that, it lights up blue, the underlining appears, and we know that that's a live link. Your other option that makes it look even cleaner is to attach this link to text. So I'm going to type in, click here for your Google form. And then I'm just going to highlight the words that I would like to be associated with that form. In this case, that's going to be click here. Once they're highlighted, we go right back down to the bottom of the screen where we have that chain link, click that insert link, and now you'll see it pops up with the text that you highlighted and with a location for you to right click and paste that share link. So I'm going to put that in there, hit OK, and now whoever I share it with just has to click here and it will open that form up for them to complete. So you just put in the rest of the text for your email and hit that send button to share it along to your team or whoever you wanted to complete it. So we have gone through the process of creating a brand new form, adding a title and questions to that form, branding that form, and sharing that form in 3 different ways. The last thing that I want to look at with you is the settings and just some different options that you have tied to the form. So we'll jump back over here. And remember, a second ago, I clicked the send button. When you click that send button, you also have the option to turn on that automatic email collection. So you can set it to collect emails. You can tell it to add a question. Responder input means it's going to add a question that requires your users to type in their email address so that you have a record of who took the form. Not everyone wants to use that, but that is an option that you can use. You can also add an editor. So if I click add editor, it's going to pop up and allow me to put in the Google email address of whoever I want to have access and editing rights of this form. I can also make changes to my general access. So I can do a drop down and say anybody with this link can edit this form. I actually want to keep ownership of this form, but generally I'll go through and add Dr. Jody or Shelly, whoever I'm wanting to be able to work on the form with me. So Google's collaborative, they'll be able to jump on, make edits or changes to the form, and you will be able to also make edits or changes to the form. So I'm done here. I'm going to hit done, leave that form as is, and I'll show you these sections right up here at the top, these 3 tabs. So as long as you're in your own Google form that you have ownership on and you've been working on, you'll have these 3 tabs. The first one allows you to create and add and make changes to questions, just like we've been practicing. The second one allows you to view the responses. So if I click over to the response tab, you can see that the quiz is turned on, or the form is turned on to be accepting responses. I can turn it off and then it would not allow anyone to submit responses. So as long as it looks like this, people that receive the link can take the form and answer it. And then it also will populate the responses down the page here. It gives you this option to link to a Google Sheet, which just means it would send your response data to another Google Sheet, so you'd have another place to look at responses. But for most of us, we're able to just check in here and look at them. And then the next tab is your settings. And settings gives you a few different options. From here, you can again set it to collect email addresses. You can turn this switch on, allow response editing, which would allow users to go back into a form they've already submitted and change their responses and edit them. You can turn it on so that it only allows people associated with your organization that have the same ending of their email address as you to interact with the form, and you can limit to 1 response. So if you turn on that limit to 1 response, then if Dr. Jody shared this form with me today for our staff meeting that's tomorrow, and I went in and completed the form, then when we had our meeting in 2 weeks, when we have another one and she sends it to me, I actually wouldn't be able to respond to it unless she switched this off. So if you're planning on using one form multiple times with the same person, then you do want to have this switched off. It's a form that you're going to send out one time, you just want people to complete it, and then you're done with it, then you can turn that option on. So either way works. And then as I go down the page, the other option that may be useful to you is the ability to make all questions required by default. So if you've gone in and you've put in all your questions and you forgot to mark that, and then you decide, oh, I do want them to have to answer every question on the page, you'll just click this button, switch that on, and it will add that required setting to all of them. So now I have shown you how to create a brand new Google form, how to edit and add questions to that form, how to brand the form, how to share the form back with your teammate or whoever you're wanting to complete it, and how to view the responses and make changes to the settings of the form.